Welcome to Houston House at South by Southwest. I'm Natalie Harms, editor of Innovation Map. The year 2020 presented a double punch for the energy industry, a global pandemic and an oil and gas downturn. During this time, oil giant Halliburton launched Halliburton Labs, a dedicated clean tech incubator fostering early-stage clean tech startups. The company's inaugural member, Nanotech, Inc., is a materials science innovator that looks to transform the fireproofing and insulation markets. I sat down with Dale Winger, managing director of Halliburton Labs, and Mike Francis, CEO of Nanotech, to talk about finding solutions for cleaner, affordable energy. Dale, Mike, thanks so much for joining me today. It's so good to see you guys in person.
Thank you, Natalie. Good to be here.
Thanks for having us.
So Dale, tell me a little bit about Halliburton Labs. And, it's a relatively new organization within a long-standing energy giant. So tell me about how it started.
Halliburton Labs starts with the understanding that the energy system of the future is going to contain lots of new technology developments and lots of new forms of energy in addition to hydrocarbons. And so while we have a long and rich tradition in traditional oil and gas businesses, we recognize some really important and really fast-growing segments of the energy economy of the future are technologies and markets that we haven't historically had as much exposure to. However, we have quite a bit of industrial infrastructure that can be helpful to the companies that are looking to make technical advancements with those technologies and commercialize those technologies. So Halliburton Labs is dedicated to cleaner, affordable energy and working with early stage companies to help commercialize those.
Mm-hmm. So why now for Halliburton Labs, right?
Well, it's an important time. The journey will be long. Hydrocarbons are going to be an important part of the energy mix for the foreseeable future. And there's not just one or two or a few dozen technology advancements that need to happen for a meaningful swing in the energy mix to occur. And so now is a really important time to begin, working together, both incumbent energy and new energy, to collaborate, bring ideas together, and utilize one another's capabilities to accelerate the journey towards a lower carbon economy, reducing emissions, and cleaner, affordable energy.
So Mike, your company, Nanotech, was the inaugural company involved with Halliburton Labs. You were the guinea pig, right? So tell me a little bit about that process of joining Halliburton Labs and then what Nanotech does.
Yeah, Natalie, it's by far the best decision we made early on as a startup. So I think as a startup, you're looking for people to believe in you. And having Halliburton, a company like Halliburton believe in you just gives you an enormous tailwind. And so an early stage company being able to have the infrastructure, the people that Halliburton has to offer, it was just a no-brainer for us. So although we were a guinea pig, we get so much special treatment that we're actually a little sad that they brought on a new cohort because we don't get that special treatment anymore. I'm just kidding, Dale. Yeah, and Nanotech, so we're a material science company. So we have a grand mission, just like any startup. We want to fireproof the world, and we want to reduce global energy consumption. So our technology does two things. One, at a very minimal thickness, it'll fireproof just about anything. And then we can also embed our additive into a lot of building materials. So that those building materials that you see around us now can be embedded with the nanoshield molecule, and those building materials become both fireproofing and insulative. So everybody from state of California to chemical plants to oil and gas plants, we're trying to fireproof it all.
So tell me a little bit about how nanotech is also a very timely element to this equation, right?
Yeah, so we think material science is the new tech boom. If you combine what's happening with the ability to look at analyze data, create cloud infrastructure around building new materials, we think the hard sciences, especially material science, is going to be the next big tech boom. And we feel that we're nicely positioned to be a part of that. And Houston is the place to be for it, because you have all the talent in the world and the hard sciences that we're trying to pull from. So we're really grateful to be here in Houston to get those resources, those technical resources to help us grow our company from where we are today to where we want to be.
So Dale, how do you work with companies like Nanotech? As we mentioned, there's a whole cohort of them now. What really does that interaction look like with Halliburton and these companies?
Yeah, so the core of what we're doing at Halliburton Labs is an accelerator program. And our goal with the accelerator program is to help founders like Mike and his team and those as a part of the new cohort achieve their objectives with the most efficient use of time and money possible, which is a big deal for an early stage company. And as Mike mentioned, there's a lot of exciting developments happening in the hard sciences. And so Halliburton has years and years of experience of commercializing hard tech, so materials, chemistry, electrical and mechanical, and bringing those, first of all, to sort of industrial quality to be able to participate in a scale way in the energy system. And so what the accelerator program includes is a 12-month experience where that has two primary tracks. One is a structured programming track that every cohort, every company participates in. And so the structured programming includes a variety of topics that are important to early stage companies to be thinking about, and includes things like thinking through your intellectual property strategy, thinking through fundraising and managing equity, thinking through contracting with both customers and suppliers, as well as some strategic things, product market fit, and several others. And so we use experts both at Halliburton and within Halliburton's business network to facilitate that structured programming. And that also creates really, kind of new connections for the companies into Halliburton and around Halliburton's business network to follow up on company-specific priorities, which kind of leads me to the other track, sort of separate from the structured programming, which is working with companies with regular check-ins on their own company-specific scale-up challenges. And, it's really starting out with understanding, like, what are the 5 or 10 things that are keeping the early-stage company's CEO and management team awake at night? What are the key objectives? Is it qualifying for an upcoming test, or securing a field trial, or fundraising, or qualifying suppliers? Sometimes it's all of the above. And then we match those unmet needs and priorities that the company has to teams within Halliburton that can, provide mentorship, provide access to facilities, and help make connections with our business network.
So from your perspective, because Mike said earlier how great the relationship has been for him on the entrepreneur side of things, what do you get out of working with these startups, of course, but also how do you select who's going to be a part of the program? What are you really looking for?
Yeah, so what we get out of it, first of all, as you can see from Mike, the early stage company landscape contains some really dynamic, talented, energetic, ambitious people that are going to make an impact in the new energy economy going forward. And so, we get, a lot of energy from their creativity, from their drive, and the ability to support that with our existing industrial infrastructure. And so the other thing that we get from that is kind of a front door into Halliburton for a bunch of the energy technologies of the future that might not have come to Halliburton otherwise. We'd have never developed a perspective on it or had an opportunity to build relationships with the people that will influence it and drive it, because historically we weren't participating or providing kind of a service or a program to support companies in clean energy.
Yeah, so what are you looking for when you are interacting with these startups that are interested in being a part of Halliburton Labs? What's the difference maker that, sets those startups apart?
Yeah, great question. So a big selection criteria is needs to be ready to scale. Okay, so what that means to us is the proof of concept is complete and the science has been settled. And so the science risk has kind of been taken away, but doing science at small scale and doing science at commercial scale has some engineering risk and has some scale-up risk that we have a lot of experience with. And so one important selection criteria is making sure that the company is at a stage with the right team, the technology readiness level, so that the experience in the accelerator program is one of knocking over some significant milestones in terms of securing contracts, revenue, institutional financing, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. So ready to scale. I know Nanotech is ready to scale and scaling, right? So tell me a little bit about the progress you've seen growing your company, both on your own and also now with Halliburton Labs.
Yeah, that's a primary benefit that we saw with Halliburton Labs. My cubicle sits right outside of Dale's office, right? So he can't hide from me, when I need something. We're literally just right next to each other. We have, multi-million-dollar laboratory right down the hallway that we work out of. And then just right across the sidewalk there, we have our pilot plant being built directly in the Halliburton campus. So within one spot, you don't lose. So you have the scale and the expertise of people that are in Halliburton, but you don't lose that garage startup feel. You don't lose the magic, right? And we didn't want to lose the magic because Nanotech did start out of a garage. You can look at our garage today and it's filled to the very top of NanoShield everywhere, all of our raw ingredients. We're mixing our NanoShield out of an old beer tank. It's as startup as you can get. And then here we have Halliburton coming, and believing in us and saying, well, let's take it from a beer tank to a grand scale. I've never built a plant. No one on our team has built a plant. I'm one phone call away from not only Dale, but right down one more office down as the former chief technology officer for Halliburton. One phone call away, one WhatsApp message away from thousands of people that know how to scale. And so we're able to take our science, at a small scale, get on the phone, have experts waiting for us. Just tomorrow, we have 5 different experts from Halliburton coming and meeting us in our pilot plant directly on the Halliburton campus, saying, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do, let's take this to scale. And so that the main driving force is the people behind the expertise of scaling, because most startups think that we're really good at coming up with a product or we're really good at coming up with a solution. Halliburton is the best at taking technologies to scale, and that's why this relationship is so impactful for us.
So each of you represent, a key role in the energy transition. Dale, I want to talk to you about Halliburton's place in this energy transition, and specifically Halliburton Labs really being a driving force within Houston.
Yeah, so it's really an exciting time for Houston to sort of claim and drive a leadership position in a lot of the key developments that are going to happen in the energy transition. And there's a lot of good pieces in place that we need to strengthen and make sure stay very tightly connected. And just to name a few of those, we've got Greater Houston Partnership, and we've got the HX Venture Fund and Houston Exponential, as well as some world-class corporations and world-class universities. And so, for early stage companies to be successful and for technology to go from promise to potential and realization through commercialization, there's lots of different types of capital that are needed, like the intellectual capital that universities can provide, and the financial capital that investors can provide. We think Halliburton Labs provides a few key types of capital to help really help Houston be a leader in the energy transition. One of those is physical capital, of course. So, Mike referenced the space that we have, world-class labs that are connected to, analytical capabilities that are connected to manufacturing capabilities, where a lot of work can get done and trials can be executed and tests can be accomplished. Another is human capital. So there are a lot of experts in the Halliburton organization that we as Halliburton Labs tap into and connect with early stage companies to help solve a problem that might be the first time the early stage company has run into it, or maybe they haven't run into it yet, but they might run into it 6 months from now or 2 years from now. But having that human capital, which by the way, Houston is very strong in, with lots of engineering talent and experts that understand how the energy system works and what must be true about the clean tech technologies of the future for them to be sort of mainstream as a part of the energy system. And I'd say the final sort of piece of capital that Halliburton Labs provides to the Houston community is network capital. So of course, having participated in the energy business for a long time, through Halliburton Labs, getting connected with a lot of the ecosystem that is supporting early stage companies and entrepreneurs, there's a connectivity and a role that Halliburton plays to facilitate connections between suppliers, early stage companies, investors, and other types of experts that can help entrepreneurs and founders be very efficient with their time and money.
Mm-hmm. Mike, what about you as an entrepreneur? What's the role you and your fellow entrepreneurs play in both the energy transition and also in the greater Houston landscape of technology and innovation?
Yeah, as an entrepreneur, I think most entrepreneurs want to change the world. I don't think we're in it for the money. I think money is a byproduct of what success eventually looks like, but every morning when I wake up, I think about, the lives we can save. I think about the infrastructure that we can preserve. And in order to do that, you do need partners like Halliburton Labs and others. And Houston is a prime spot for us. So Houston, I think, is going to play a critical role, not only in the talent that's going to be attracted here, but the current talent here that's either in the oil and gas industry or that's migrated out of the oil and gas industry. In the energy transition, we're also an insulating technology. So only 5 millimeters of our product insulates the same as about 150 millimeters of the best insulator on the planet. So that's, spray foam. And if you look at how we perform, we're actually the equivalent of a lot of the NASA aerogels. So the knob on the energy equation that we can control is reducing energy consumption. So in one single technology, you get both the fireproofing benefit and you also get the insulation benefit. So we see the energy transition, we see us playing the role of reducing energy consumption so other technologies can be enabled, whether it's wind, solar, whatnot, and play even a bigger part in the overall energy economy. So we're thrilled that our technology can do both because, the passive fireproofing market is about a $100 billion market and the insulation market is about a $100 billion market. We're capturing both with one technology. And so even though money's not important, I think it's going to come.
Yeah. What has been the reception for you? Obviously, it's been great from Halliburton Labs. They seem like a really great fan of yours. But working with other kind of VCs and potential customers, what feedback do you get once you explain your product?
So Natalie, we're working with all the major players, including the state of California. So if you think about an industry need or, a need for society, our technology is starting to match up with what that need is. If you look at the energy transition, everybody's focus is on energy. The second half of our technology, which is the insulating, that comes together, very nicely with where industry meets challenge. So we're working, quite honestly, we're working with some of the largest companies in the world. Every day that I wake up, we're talking to another big one, and I can't believe it. I wake up and I look at my kids, drop them off at school, and then I go talk to this Fortune 10 company that wants to deal with little old nanotech, and it just blows my mind. And part of it, and this is not again to make Halliburton Labs sound just amazing, but they're amazing. So immediately when they look us up, the first thing that they see is one, that we're private equity backed, and then two, we're backed by Halliburton Labs, right? And if Halliburton Labs believes in you, a company their size, certainly they've done their vetting, or maybe you missed one on this in this case. It gives us a swagger that when we go into these meetings, we have so much more confidence than we would if we were still in our garage here in Spring, Texas.
It's hard to have a conversation about energy and the energy transition without acknowledging what happened in Texas in February with the power grid failure due to a winter storm. So looking back at that and taking what we've learned and pulling it forward, how did that kind of change the conversation, advance the conversation to innovation within energy?
Yeah, thank you, Natalie. For sure, we got a really important reminder across society about how important the reliability and affordability of energy is to every aspect of our lives. So school was canceled for a week, so it hurt the education system, and a lot of work was closed, and so it hurt the economy. But more importantly, personal lives were impacted. I mean, people didn't have heat and ability to cook and so forth. And so as we think about the energy transition, of course, lowering emissions and having a cleaner sources is the goal, and there's going to be a lot of technological advancements that make that happen. But certainly having a really important conversation around reliability and affordability and access is absolutely fundamental to what success looks like. And so we expect, whether we're talking about reliability or grid infrastructure or, winterization and ability to perform across all seasons, whether we're talking about generation, whether we're talking about distribution, these are all important pieces to have in the conversation.
Mike, from your perspective, how did things change for you due to that winter storm and the power grid failure? What conversations came out of that?
Yeah, Natalie. So be frank, we want to fix it. Our technology not only prevents heat from coming in, but it also prevents cold from going in. So the second that I got my Wi-Fi back on Friday, the very first thing I did was I looked up my contacts of people that are working, in the energy grid sector, because we can winterize the grid. So we, just a very small coating on top of the piping or the infrastructure that's out there would have prevented this from happening. So, I mean, we're being very direct in saying, hey, work with us. If you want us to winterize the grid, we can do it for you.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure some people wish you would have coated their pipes too,
so
maybe.
my home pipes are absolutely going to be coated with NanoShield, all of my friends' pipes. And if you want a discount, I got you a really good discount.
Great. So kind of looking forward, this entrepreneur corporation relationship that y'all have, Mike, from your perspective, what advice do you have for startups, maybe just starting out, looking to work with corporations and doing it successfully like you have?
Find your tailwind. As an entrepreneur, the first people that believe in you are your family. It feels great to have, mom believe in our fireproofing technology, but it's something completely different when a corporation believes in you. It also gives, as entrepreneurs, the ups and downs that we go through are tremendous. The highs are as high as you can possibly imagine, and the lows are devastating. So the second that you can find that corporate or larger backer that's going to say, I'm going to give you this tailwind, it not only changes the way that you feel about your product, it changes your whole team dynamic. Everybody has confidence, a little bit more confidence in what you're doing. Your customers have confidence in what you're doing. And then eventually the world will have confidence in what you're doing because it started with, it's no longer my mom believing in me, it's Halliburton. Right? That means something. And I think as entrepreneurs, that's what we look for. We look for that next tailwind. We're always looking for that next tailwind so that every day when we wake up, we know this sacrifice is worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dale, from the corporate side of things, why is it just good business to tap into tech and entrepreneurs at startups?
Well, it's good business because the energy system of the future requires the contribution from the really talented people that have a lot of drive and technologies that can come to the marketplace and help drive cleaner, affordable energy. And so we have over 100 years of investment in capabilities and experts and facilities and business network that can help make the journey a little bit easier. It is a bit of a tougher journey for a hard tech entrepreneur, and it's a different population in the financial community that's willing to back hard tech businesses because the scaling challenges are different, the capital requirements are different. But we think it's really good business because the energy transition will not occur with just software development. Software will certainly play a very important role, and digital is now incorporated into almost every kind of business. But the energy system is going to require hard tech developments, and so we're excited to be a part of that. We're excited to use our industrial capabilities to make that journey easier and make sure more companies get across that valley.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the greater Houston area stands to benefit from that for sure. So thank you guys both so much for joining me. Mike and Dale, it's been a pleasure to talk about all of this with you today.
Thanks, Natalie.
Thank you, Natalie.